much easier to handle failure than success. Because if Joy fails or I fail, you put your head down, you work hard, and you don't want to get embarrassed again. So when you fail, the solution's pretty easy. Like, get your stuff together, concentrate more, focus more, put your head down and work hard. But success is actually harder to handle. It's like, ooh, you got a raise. Man, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy. Success is hard because it's hard to be successful. And a lot of people are successful. Getting to the top's one thing. Staying at the top is really, really hard, like New England. So New England was vulnerable this weekend. They were a wounded bird. They were 1-2. They still have a completely unsettled wide receiving core. Their best wide receiving target is a running back, James White. Gronk got hurt again. They have no pass rush. They're 28th in the NFL in sacks. Brady, Belichick, it's not perfect. They lost Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. They're a wounded bird, man. They're so vulnerable. Here comes Miami. Not very successful, but not successful guy got a little taste of success. Bought a new Corvette. Woo! He's driving a new car, got a new job, got a new corner office. Miami showed up and laid a blanking egg. Miami could have gone up 3.5 games on New England. It's not that they lost. They weren't even ready to play. Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And you had the man. You were healthier. You weren't unsettled at wide receiver. You weren't unsettled at running back. Your best player, Gronk, didn't get hurt. You had an opportunity. The weather was a non-factor, which, let's be fair, it is harder for a Miami or a Tampa to go play in a Green Bay or a Foxborough in November, December. They're not used to the weather, just like it's hard for a New England or a Green Bay in September to go down and play in Miami where it's, 96 degrees and smothering, or Jacksonville. So the weather was perfect. You were the healthier team. But again, this is just what Miami is. I put him in my herd hierarchy at number 10, and I deeply resented it. The staff's like, you got to give Miami a shot. And I said, I am not putting them at 10. You can't trust Miami. So much to the chagrin of me and my reputation, I snuck Miami in at 10. No more recommendations from the staff.
To be clear, I was not a part of that conversation. So while I very much would like for the Dolphins to be good, I trust my experiences with the Dolphins. So this is not surprising to me.
At 3:30 Eastern yesterday, third quarter, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, none of them had any points. Brady scores 38 with a collection of whatever that is. But I'm telling you, so much, it's so true. A lot of it's just cultural. Miami's got one of those cultures where they just can't handle any success. This was there to take. You could have literally seized control of the division. 4-0 out of September against 1-3. And oh, by the way, New England's got to come to you later in the year. Where through the years, Miami against New England at home, been a pretty good matchup. And it's not that you lost. You didn't even compete. Okay, so I'm going to give you a premise on something. And I believe this premise is true because I've watched it my entire life. People hang out with themselves. Conservatives hang out with conservatives. Liberals hang out with liberals. Moderates hang out with moderates. If you go to a company, let's say Google, Apple, Facebook, tech company, the engineers hang out with engineers. The people who aren't as techie, the marketing people inside those companies, hang out with the marketing people. It's just the way the world works, is that people tend to hang out with themselves. And so in football, the offensive guys tend to hang out with other offensive guys. That doesn't mean an offensive head coach wouldn't have, a defensive buddy. But the offensive guys tend to hang out with the offensive guys, and the defensive guys hang out with the defensive guys. Pete Carroll probably has a much better sense of defensive personnel and defensive coaches. Similarly, Mike Tomlin's a defensive guy. Here's what's interesting. So Big Ben and the Steelers, second week in a row, no points in the second half. That's what Juju Smith-Schuster. That offensive line, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, no points, Second week in a row. This time they're at home. They've struggled against Cleveland. They've struggled now against Baltimore. They're struggling to score points. And look what's happening in the NFL right now. Cam Newton gets an offensive guy, Norv Turner. Cam Newton's got his best efficiency ratings ever. Andrew Luck finally has an offensive coach. Andrew Luck, highest completion percentage ever. Yesterday, 4 TDs, no picks, 400 yards. Derek Carr with John Gruden, offensive guy, 71% completion rate. Drew Brees, offensive guy. Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, offensive guy. Mitch Trubisky, limited offensive guy. In the NBA, we had a 3-point shot revolution. That all of us were watching the NBA, and then about 5 years ago, it was like, oh, crap. The rules have changed. Analytics are in the sport. If you can't shoot a three, you can't even be on the floor. I mean, Tristan Thompson 6 years ago, oh, I like that guy. Now it's like, get him off the floor. Even centers, if you can't shoot, you're not. In the NFL, with all the rule changes, the catch rule has been flipped pro offense. Protecting the quarterback, anti-defense. Helmet rule imposed, anti-defense. All the rules are changing. You have to think long and hard. Who are the 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in this league struggling? Russell Wilson with a defensive head coach and Big Ben with a defensive head coach. No points, second week in a row, second half, not very good at adjusting. Mike Tomlin, does he really have the same eye for offensive personnel? Does he have the same connectivity with offensive coaches as he did defensive coaches? You start looking around this league, offensive coaches know personnel better. They build better offensive staffs. I mean, Seattle's offensive line coach, Seattle's offensive coordinator, they're not elite. They're not elite. I start, who are the 2 Super Bowl quarterbacks right now that you feel are being under-supported? Big Ben and Russell Wilson. They have defensive coaches. I mean, I'm watching that. I'm watching Mitch Trubisky light the scoreboard up yesterday. I'm watching Jared Goff from Fisher to Sean McVay. It's like a different player. I mean, Doug Peterson. By the way, Frank Reich goes over. All of a sudden, look at Andrew Luck. Do you know Andrew Luck became only the second player in NFL history to throw for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and lose? His numbers, Cam Newton's now got an offensive guy that used to be an offensive head coach. His numbers are going up. I'm telling you, if you're the New York Jets this morning, and you're the Bills this morning, and you're Arizona this morning, and you got rookie core, that's why everybody wants to fire Hugh Jackson. I keep saying with Hugh Jackson, be very careful about firing Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson knows offense. Baker Mayfield is way better served with an offensive coach than these young quarterbacks with a defensive coach. Just look around the league. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.